Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the minutes as submitted.
Thank you.
Support. Oh, sorry.
That's okay. We have motion and a support. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion will pass. They are approved. First case, ZBA business. Under first case, we have AB 2022-02, Heather and John Cleland Host at 895 Buckhorn Drive, Sidwell 09-11-457-029. Petitioners are seeking 3 variances from zoning ordinance 78, Article 6, Section 6.04, zoned R3. Number 1 is a 21.8-foot front yard setback variance from the required 30-foot to build an attached garage addition 8.2 feet from the front property line. Number 2 is a 54-square-foot variance above the allowed 1,150 square foot total maximum floor area of all accessory buildings to construct an 800-square-foot garage addition to an existing 240-square-foot attached garage, a 100-square-foot shed, and a 64-square-foot shed for a total of 1,204 square feet, total maximum area of all accessory buildings. And number 3 is a 20.24% variance above the allowed 75% maximum floor area of attached accessory buildings of the principal structure for a total percentage of 95.24%. Do we have an applicant with us? Come on up and introduce yourselves and let us know what it is you would like to do.
I'm Heather Cleland Host, and it's my husband, John Cleland Host, and we are trying to add a 2-car garage with storage above it. And the reason we're doing this is because right now there is a very small 1-car garage, and we both are working professionals who need to be able to store our cars in a garage when it's easier to get to work in the morning. And so the only location that really works for putting that is in front of the existing garage. We originally considered extending the garage to the side, but that the edge of the property line's too close and the land slopes down there. And putting it behind the house would mean there's a drop, the land goes down. So it would also block the view of the lake. So the only real feasible place for us to put the garage is in front of the existing one. And so that's what we're trying to do. And then that involves the 3 variances.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, the last thing is that the main request that we're looking at was number 1. We determined also that 2 and 3 were also needed because the square footage of our house is very small, so that affected that.
2 things occurred to me when I was there. Both the sheds, the shed that you have, 2 of them out back that you plan to keep, I think. Are those vital to you being able to do what you want?
The one that's closer to the lake is used for, well, they're both used for the yard supplies and stuff. The stuff that we want to store above the garage is going to be stuff that's from inside the house, so we actually have more living space. Because right now we have 6 of us living in the house, ourselves and our 4 sons. And so we want to be able to use, it's only 1,092 square feet. So we're using a portion of that for storage, so we want to be able to move that upstairs, but that wouldn't work to put outside. The stuff that's in the garage, those sheds right now is like lawnmowers and, yard supplies, that kind of thing. So.
In the event that you're successful tonight, how close will the garage be to the street?
I think.
22 feet.
At its closest, it'll be 22 feet.
It will be 22 feet from the edge of the street pavement, and it's a 20-car garage. We tried to make it as small as we could to keep it as far away from the street as we could.
Okay, thank you. Question to the board.
May I ask, yes.
Yes,
So help me understand, because, so you're going to build it in front of the current garage. You're going to reserve that current garage as storage space. Is that correct?
Yeah.
There would be no access. And so your access to the garage is going to come around in front of your home, is that correct? If you're building it out
The,
cars?
The existing garage will no longer be used as a garage. We're gonna
Right.
we're gonna have to put a door between
Right,
that and the two-car garage. So the cars will be alongside it. So the first parking spot would be directly in front of where the existing one is.
Right.
And the other one would be a little bit off to the side. So in front of, basically, yeah, it's right in front of the house.
So
We would pull directly into the garage from front.
from the street,
Yes.
Yes. And then we are putting a cement area alongside the garage so that we would not be using the space in front of the garage for parking at all. It
So
would
if someone
be,
visits, they can pull on the side and not
so they won't
block the
be
view.
sticking out or anything like that.
You
And
wanna
even,
maximize the view around the corner.
even if someone was to pull in at that spot, there's enough space there for a full-length car to pull in and then open up the garage and then go in. So it's not like you would have to sit out in the street in order to pull into the garage. So the driveway is long enough to do it, it's just, the house is right up against it's right at the limit, so,
so the garage will extend further out to the house to the
Yes.
north
yeah.
a little bit. But you won't run into a problem because of the slope. You're
Yeah.
far enough forward, is that
Yeah.
the? Okay,
Yeah, it slopes like right just past the house, goes,
right.
Well, while we're thinking on things here, have your neighbors weighed in with you at all about this?
yes.
Yes.
They are supportive.
I've asked them and received supportive responses.
Actually, we have two of them here today,
Yeah.
so.
Okay.
Haven't got an answer back from one, got supportive answers from everyone else.
Good. That's always a help when you come for something like that. Well, why don't we,
Mr. Chair, question.
Mr. Walker?
You plan to leave the two existing sheds up there?
Currently, yes.
Okay, why is that?
The ones that are out there they're suitable for like yard storage. We don't want to put our mower like up in the place above. That's the storage we're adding. So it would not be, we're not adding,
The one by the lake is especially useful for lake-type stuff, like the kayak paddles and stuff like that, so we're not going all the way up the hill, because it's a bit of a hill up there, and in the summer and stuff like that, lake-type stuff works really well in that one out there. The one by the house, there's more leeway there depending on, what's needed.
yeah, that's where we have the mowers and stuff like that.
Well, it looks to
But
me,
that one we possibly could get rid of.
looks to me, if you tore down one of those sheds, you wouldn't need two of the variances you're asking for.
Both of them?
That's right. Right.
Both of them?
Well, at least the second one we wouldn't need for sure.
Right.
I think on the third one, we're over 64 feet.
Yeah, I think the third one,
Yeah, the third one
unfortunately,
we'd
even no matter
still
what we do.
need, although it would be less.
So we could take down the smaller,
We
the
could
shed
take
that's
down
by
the
the head.
small, we could take down
house.
the shed by the house.
Yeah.
Yep, yep.
Unless I'm reading this wrong, is
Down
that
the shed by the house.
you guys see also?
Well, it would definitely lessen their need for variances, because they've got square footage of detached buildings as part of it.
When I talked to Lynn, she said that the number two, that one, I think that one would not be needed if we got rid of the shed by the house. But I think the third one is still,
Right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So we're really close on that one.
Right, because the variance is 54 square feet, and the shed itself is 64 square feet, so that would eliminate number two.
Thank you.
Just so that you're aware, I always tell somebody the same thing. You have the right to, when the time comes, request a vote on what you brought to the board tonight. If you feel by listening to the back and forth and answering questions that you may have a better chance of being successful by negotiating a bit, you have that right. But you do not have to come down I have seen people think it in their best interest to do so, and others, no. So you can go either way. That'll be your call when the time comes. But I certainly understand what Mr. That's kind of where I was leading with the first question I asked you about the 2 sheds.
So,
You have something, Mr. Cook?
I do. On number 4 would ask you how to explain how your request is not inconsistent, and you cited some examples, 890 Buckhorn, 885 Buckhorn, and then another on Heights and another on Susan Marie. How do you feel those are similar? I went to each of those properties trying to see how that might look, and I'm not getting why you selected those properties as comparisons.
well, the main thing we were looking at was trying to look at houses that had 2-car garages, and also that were closer to the road than, on average, so. I think
Or one of those two, either had a garage similar to what we were looking at, or were close to the road, or something like that. And I agree, none of those are a perfect match.
Perfect, that's, okay.
They match in different parts,
Okay.
but not the whole thing.
Yeah, I was just trying to put that together. And then the other piece, there was if you're facing your home, it would be on the northern side, there was a stick there. Does that denote the end of the garage, or what?
That was the corner of the garage.
That's the corner, okay. And so one side is at, I believe, 8 feet 4 inches, and the other one is going to be closer? So it's at an angle? Like
Yeah, because the road curves.
10-4, okay.
Yeah.
So when I measured it, I'm trying to understand how you're getting this 22 feet from the road based upon where the measurements I took. That's what I'm not getting. How do you get there, sir?
I took a measurement from the current front of the house to the road, and I got 42 feet. Now, I tried to, be somewhere around the middle, but it's possible, because of the road curve, that someone could get a higher or lower measurement, I would think.
On either side.
Yeah, a little bit. I wouldn't expect it to be very different.
So were you measuring to the center line of the road or to the edge of your property?
I was neither, because the edge of the property line is actually back into our yard.
Right,
Right, so I was measuring to the edge of the road pavement.
okay. So if you measure to the edge of the road pavement versus the end of the yard, I'm still not understanding how, but, okay, I got what you did.
Okay.
Just mathematically, it's not working.
Okay, did you measure from the house to the road?
No, sir, from the
Oh.
stick to the road.
It's not 42 feet from the stick to the road. It's, the stick that you put in
Oh,
the
right,
snow.
no, that stick is the.
That's the corner of the garage. The-
Right,
the
that's certainly
proposed
not
garage.
42 feet from the stick to the road, it's 22, because that's the garage is out 20.
Right, but I'm saying, when you measured out to the road, did you measure to the road, or did you measure to the midline in the road?
I measured to not the midline, to the.
Edge of your
I didn't go
property.
from the stick, I went from farther south from there because that's the extreme end, and I didn't want the.
I think I can explain what he
Okay,
did.
go ahead,
Which,
go ahead
what
and try.
from that stick, if you go over a parallel to the house, that's the garage, right? He measured from the middle of that, so if you take some to the north of it, it would be shorter, and some to the
South.
south of it, it would be longer. So it's the average.
All right, thank you.
One other question, that was the back stick that I saw, there were 2, one up near the road and one further back.
With the little pink flags, that's the boundaries of the property.
So the two sticks with the flags are the boundaries of the property?
Yes.
That's all they are, yeah.
So, Mr. Cook, were you referring to the tall stick?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, okay.
All
We
right.
put a tall stick in
Yeah,
there
I just-
yesterday, so we were looking at what you compared with this position and
Okay.
checking
Thank you, that explains,
things, so.
thank you.
What my concern was, and the basis for me asking how far away you were going to be, is the average vehicle now is 12 to 14 feet. And I was just wondering how close you were going to be cutting it if you were backing out of the garage before you got to maneuvering lane, you know?
Yeah, 22 feet.
Okay. Do we have anybody here that would like to speak to this matter that came specifically? Come on up, sir. Identify yourself.
Will Wilshire, Will Wilshire, 915 Buckhorn. I'm 2 houses south of the house in question right now for the garage. I talked to John yesterday, and I didn't say I was either for or against yet, because I was still kind of looking at it. But one thing I do know, and I was looking in my driveway again today, and where I'm at, everybody that's been there, you know how Buckhorn is. You've got a hill coming up, okay, and as you're coming up to Buckhorn, if I'm that first driveway right there, where you start to make the curve up, right after Erie Court, on the first driveway. And we always back in our cars because you gotta have your head on a swivel there, because they come up the other side just as quick as they come up this side. Very rarely is anybody doing less than 25, it seems like. And I was kind of trying to judge to see, for our sites and all that. And I did mention to John yesterday, I was concerned about cars coming southbound on Buckhorn as they're coming around the hill, because we do use that, we gotta look that way too to pull out. There's no way we'll ever back out onto Buckhorn. We've almost been hit even pulling out straight. So that is actually one of my concerns about having the garage come out that far from the house. It does look like it could obstruct some of the view, and I do know my neighbor next door, they've got a circle drive, and we have to kind of look around those cars too, in all fairness. I'm trying to be optimistic both ways on this. But, it does look like I definitely have a concern. Cars coming up from the other end of Buckhorn there, headed southbound towards Clarkston Road, to see. It just depends how fast they're going. Now, if everybody actually did kind of like I do, I'd probably irritate a few people in the neighborhood, because I usually only do about 20. You may catch me speeding on the road, but you're not gonna catch me speeding in the sub. I'll be perfectly honest with you. That's a concern, and I did ask him about, because, I've got a F-150. I did ask John yesterday, because I talked to him for probably about 20 minutes yesterday. And I did FOIA the information, and I was going over it again today and taking a look at it. And I was just trying to understand how, with the garage, what I mentioned to him, it's gonna, I thought by the plans, it looked like they were building the second story actually on top of their house. But that garage is just straight up, basically 26 foot to the peak. And, right in front of the garage, or the existing garage and house. And that's a little tough for me to tell back, like in my driveway and that, because I've also got the height now with the garage sticking out from the house. And when you look, there's an 8.5 foot setback, on the northernmost side. And when I was looking at the paperwork tonight, it looks like there's, in the road right away, and it's a little hard to tell on the little map, but let me see if I can look at this. I made a notation on it. But I was trying to figure out how you're gonna be able to have a car parked there. But John said my truck would fit, a 20-foot F-150 would fit in the driveway there. But I know you'd have to pull awful close to the house, and I know they did say they were talking about putting a little driveway on the side of the house, but you're gonna have your swing there and everything else too. And I'm kind of trying to look at both sides of this. I'm more concerned about my view 2 doors down, trying to make sure I'm not gonna get hit, trying to avoid, you know, the oncoming traffic. But I'm also a little bit concerned on the height of the garage when I actually sat down and looked at all the numbers. You know, I guess maybe they can answer, I don't know what the house existing is right now. How much higher the garage is gonna be from the house existing. I was trying to calculate that out myself, and I was thinking it's probably a good 12 foot, you know, higher than what the house is alone. So that means this garage is gonna be sitting out in front of the house, you know, 26 foot basically. And the house is probably around 15 foot, roughly. And I was just trying to figure out, when I'm looking down from my property, my driveway today, I was out here a couple times because I was home all day, well, most of the day. And I was trying to get a rough idea, and it does seem like, at least in our line of vision, that I am gonna have a little bit of road restriction there, because the telephone pole's there, and it looks like you got about 8 foot, you know, just on my rough guesses. So that's probably my biggest concern, is trying to see to make sure I can get out of my driveway. It's not gonna happen all the time, don't get me wrong, you know, I'm trying to look at both ways, but it just seems, if that second story could, because I asked them, why didn't they put the second story of the garage over their house? Because that's how I thought it was gonna be based on the drawing. Told them the drawing was a little hard to take a look at. And I read prints all day, you know, in my job, you know, tool maker by trade. So it just seems too tall in the front. And I've come to that conclusion kind of today. As I've been looking at this, I've been trying to look at it with a open concept, because, you know, I do know they need some extra space there. You know, it's a smaller house like mine is too. But, you know, I don't know if there's something that you could do with that. It just seems awful big in the front of the house, especially when I drove through the neighborhood again today, looking to try to see if anybody had anything like that. And I don't see any of the houses in the neighborhood actually looking like that. And I'm just, like I said, I'm trying to see their point of view on stuff. And I know they do need, you know, some extra space there, but I'm kind of hoping, and I didn't get a chance to talk to them tonight, I'm gonna be honest with you. And, but I'm kind of looking at that, and, you know, I'm gonna be doing an addition on my house too, and I'm changing the whole concept, but I won't be able to be before you guys. I made sure of that, so. And it's, I know they're in a tough spot because how the house sits on the property. When you look at it, you know, I mean, the house physically sits past your 30-foot setback as it is already, you know. But I personally, I can't say I support it after looking at it today, and that it doesn't seem like it fits in with the neighborhood. With how it's constructed, you know, because I did ask, you know, what are you gonna do with the siding of the house? How is this gonna match with the house? Because we don't really have a barn-style building anywhere in our sub, anywhere in that whole neighborhood. And I'm trying to make, you know, I'm kind of looking at, all right, I know he told me they're doing the barn style to get the maximum storage out of it, which I kind of understand, but, you know, it'd be nice if that second story part could actually be on the house. If they're not gonna use the existing garage as a auxiliary garage, so to speak, if they're gonna turn it into probably some kind of living space, which would probably be a smart idea to do, I'll be honest with you, could probably be turned into a bedroom or something like that, to add another bedroom in there, since they've got, you know, 6 people living in the house. But, you know, that's just kind of where I stand. I'm not, you know, I hope they understand I'm not trying to be difficult with them, but I also got to look at, you know, I'm going to be putting probably $150,000 into my house too. And I know that's gonna stick out pretty close to the road. And, you know, my driveway is gonna be that much shorter, and I'm on a hill like this as it is too. And it's just how the houses are there. But, you know, I'd kind of like to see something more that looks more like what we have in our neighborhood than, you know, putting, you know, a big garage, two-story garage, right up in front of the house.
Thank you for your
All
time.
I can say, like I said, I'm trying to be open-minded with this, but it just seems like it's a lot to me.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else that'd like to speak to this? Okay.
I have a,
Can,
oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
can I note a couple things?
Sure.
It's going to be attached to the house. It's not like we're sitting a garage in front of the house and just sitting it out there. It's going to saddle into the house and be part of the house. It's not going to be a separate structure. So I just wanted to be clear that that's not, it's going to be, the siding's going to match with the rest of the house. It's going to be a very aesthetically matched to the house.
Let me interrupt you 1 second before I forget. How much higher is it gonna be than the highest point of the house?
I think, I'd have to go and pull up the email where I had it, but I think it was 10 feet. Or
Many?
maybe it was 9? Is that
Yeah,
10?
something like that. We can take 3 foot off of the inside of the garage, and lower it by 3 foot. That would be, I think, feasible.
Yeah, but it's not, yeah.
But, yeah, it's not
We're
that
not
much
seeking
higher.
it.
And
It's within the
for-
requirements, so it's not
Right.
anything that's
It's
required.
Right, it's not in violation
not
of
a
any, and with the view down the street, the height doesn't affect the view. And I did want to say, Will, I'm sorry I misinterpreted our conversation.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry that we didn't talk more. Missed that. I thought I interpreted it differently. So,
Chairman, can I ask a question?
Please, Ms. Naskis.
So the primary concern, at least for this board, because we're talking about the variance that's needed. I'm not sure what your plan is for that current garage. Doesn't matter, it's not germane. But because the concern from this board seems to be the access and visibility because of the closeness to the front of the property, is there any way that you could move, because your garage is not going to extend past the current garage on the south, is that correct? Coming right out from there?
it's coming out.
Is there any way that could be backed up somewhat into that garage space that's already there?
Not without going into our kitchen.
Your kitchen's in the garage?
No, the garage is only a one-car garage.
Yeah.
So if we're putting this in front of our kitchen, so part of it is extending to the front of the kitchen, so you can't really move it back.
Okay, that was,
It's as far back as we possibly can make it.
All right, we tried to make it as
So-
far away from the road as we could.
I see. That was my first question, is it's
Yeah, and
not
it can't go
extending
to
past
the
the current
north,
garage, but it
yeah.
is going to extend past where the current garage is going south towards the house.
It's going towards the road, but it can't go south, I mean, it can't go north.
It can't go north because of the setback in the property line.
Okay.
It does extend south, which is what puts it in front of the kitchen.
That,
Yeah.
So
yeah,
we
that was
can't
my
go
question.
east because then we go into the kitchen. And
Yeah.
we did look into putting storage space above the current garage, but it was just too expensive because they said they'd have to tear the whole thing out and build a whole house there, and it just came to a huge amount of money.
We're not,
Right.
I'm a teacher, and
We're trying to put 4 boys through college, it's,
Yeah.
right,
and we
Thank you
have
for
to have both of
clarifying.
us working, so it's
Right.
like,
right. So that's where we are.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Walker.
when was the house built, do you know?
it's,
I think 78 maybe?
yeah,
And when did you folks purchase it?
about 3 years ago.
Yeah, 2018. We purchased it in July of 2018.
We purchased it right before the whole pandemic thing hit.
I used to work up in Midland. I got laid off and got a job down here and came down here in 2018.
Yeah, he grew up in Walled Lake,
Yeah,
so this
not
is
too
kind
far
of,
from
living
here.
on a
Kinda
lake has
moving
been
back
kind of
to
our
the-
dream,
Back to the Detroit area, yeah.
so.
When you bought the house, there were 6 of you when you purchased the house.
Yeah.
Yes, although one of them is going to college.
Right, but my question is, what's changed to want you to do this? What are your practical difficulties that you have, that you didn't have before?
I'm not understanding the question.
He's saying, what's the practical difficulties that have changed since then?
Since we bought the house? No, we wanted to do car garage from the beginning. We just
did
didn't
want a
realize it was gonna be that
two-car
hard
garage from
to
the-
add it.
Right, we thought it would be easier to add this. We didn't realize that, we didn't realize that the property line didn't go to the road and that there was a setback there and all that stuff. We weren't aware of that. I was the only one working at the time, but Heather's working now too.
Thank you.
How many drivers do you have at that house?
Two of us, and then my oldest teen.
The oldest teen just got his license, so he's not driving, he doesn't have a car, but he does
Yeah, it's
drive
just the
from
two
time
cars.
to time.
I'm just trying to look ahead to what your traffic pattern might be there. When so close together.
Possible. He
Two
would have to
cars.
go on the side, right, yeah.
It's gonna stay 2 cars.
Okay, thank you. Board members have anything additional? Anything additional from the audience?
I think we can.
But do we, if we say without the shed, can we change it here? Do we have to wait till the next thing?
We can take it down here, correct?
Yes, you can, it would be number 2. You can
Yeah,
do
number
that.
2 could be removed. If we did that.
So if we got a motion one way or the other here, we could strike number 2 if that is what you tell me now you would like to do.
Let's
Yeah,
try
let's
striking
do
number
that.
2, yes.
Okay?
That's removing that
64
64
foot.
square foot shed for the property, correct?
Yeah,
And then
after
that
this-
would mean that this number
after-
2
yeah,
wouldn't need to
after
be
the con-
necessary.
After the construction's done, we can get the stuff out of there. We can't get it out of there before that. Well, I guess we could if we need to. But yeah.
Oh, that signals cooperation. Do you have anything more that you'd like the board to know before we make a motion one way or the other?
I suppose I could add that I did look a lot at the sight lines, at how far you can see down the road. And from farther back on the road, the hill makes it so that you can't necessarily see anyway, depending on where you are. A lot of it depends on the height of your vehicle. This does block a little bit of the view when you're a long ways away. But at all times, you can see at least 200 feet around the corner.
We've had quite a bit of work down in that area on this board in the past couple of years. And the people in there, as the gentleman kind of tactfully tried to say, they're serious. They want to get where they're going. They don't really pay that much attention to speed limits. And in the middle of the day, which is typically when I go and look at sites, it's like, oh, there was one there. And it's just something we have to keep in mind. Well, we have nothing additional. If somebody on the board would like to lean into a motion?
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Cook?
Okay. In the matter of ZBA case AB 2022-02, Heather and John Cleland host, 895 Buckhorn Drive, Sidwell 0911457-029. I move that the petitioner's following amended request for 2 variances from the zoning ordinance number 78, zoned R2, Article 6, Section 6.04, zoned R3, number 1, a 21.8-foot front yard setback variance from the required 30 feet to build an attached garage addition 8.2 feet from the front property line. Geez, this is really work. Article 20, 7, Section 27.02A8, building structures and uses for lot sizes up to half acre. Again, they have removed item number 2, and we're going to just go to item number 3. A 20.4% variance above the allowed 75% maximum floor area of the attached accessory buildings of the primary structure for a total percentage of 95.24%. Be denied because the petitioner did not demonstrate that the following different standards for variances have been met in this case. The petitioner did not demonstrate the practical difficulty, and one of the major ones is, unfortunately, a practical difficulty is not having too much stuff. The petitioner did not establish a unique or exceptional circumstances or conditions applicable to the property involved that do not generally apply to other properties in the same district or zone, in that they did talk about the positioning of the home on the property. However, the supporting addresses which they provided in their response, that being 885 Buckhorn, 890 Buckhorn, and 210 Susan Marie, did not support what they were asking nor demonstrate how it was similar in any way whatsoever. The variance is not necessary for the preservation and enjoyment of the substantial property rights posed by other properties in the same zone or vicinity, based upon the following facts: is that they do have an existing garage. It is not a two-car garage, but again, that is not necessary to pervert. A two-car garage is not necessary for the preservation and enjoyment of the property itself. Now, the granting of the variance or modification will be materially detrimental to the public welfare or materially injurious to the property or the improvements in such zone or district in which the property is located, based upon the following findings or following facts. That where the property, the end of the garage is located, there is has been some discussion back and forth about its actual distance from the road, in addition to some discussion about the height, which has nothing to do with the material being materially detrimental. It is the closeness to the road of the actual structure, the final position. Further, based upon the following findings of fact, the granting of this variance would impair an adequate supply of light or air to other properties. It wouldn't unreasonably increase the congestion in the street, although it would potentially have some visual impact. It wouldn't increase the danger of fire or endanger public safety, unreasonably diminish or, would not impair established property values within the surrounding areas, or in any respect impair public, it would in fact impair potentially public health and potentially public safety.
You all set?
Yes, sir.
Support.
We have a motion by Mr. Cook, support by Mr. Walker. Please call.
1 second. I'm sorry. Mr. Cook, can you please amend the motion for number 3, the variance? You said 20.4. Can you make it 20.24%, please?
Yes, ma'am. I'll set to 20.24%. Thank you.
And I'll amend my support.
Thank you.
And a yes vote is to deny, correct?
Correct. Please call the roll.
Danaskis?
Yes.
Cook?
Yes.
Walker?
Yes.
Flood?
No.
Durham?
Yes. Your request is denied. I'm sorry. Next up, we have case AB 2022-43. Get back on track here, I'm sorry. Case AB 22-03. Scott and Kristen Carrer, I'll let them correct my pronunciation when they come up. 2716 Mercury Court, Sidwell 09-20-477-008. Petitioners are seeking one variance from zoning ordinance 78, Article 6, Section 6.04, zoned R2. The first one, the only one, is a 7.42 front yard setback variance from required 35 feet to add a second-story addition 27.58 feet from the front property line. Do we have a petitioner? Come on up, introduce yourself, please, and we'll let you have the floor.
Copies, can I bring those up first?
Sure.
Thank you.
No, very nicely done.
Thank you.
Okay. So we are asking for a setback variance. And the situation is our house was built somewhere in the early 70s. And we believe that the setback for the front setback was different in our subdivision back in the 70s. The neighbors' houses on the court both are essentially cookie cutter looking houses to ours, and both have the setback variance, or they were built with the garage. It's in the 35-foot setback.
So essentially, you were caught by the fact that it was proper when it was built. The rules have changed. Now you can't change it without coming in.
I believe that's the case without knowing that for a fact.
It sounds that way.
Right.
We are going straight up from the existing structure that is already there. We
Yes.
will not be building any closer to the street whatsoever.
So on page 2, we show the existing foundation that I gave you. And essentially, the existing foundation, we hatched the area where we're putting the addition, which is the actual existing living room and garage that we'd be building above. And the roof line is going to be very similar to the existing roof line height on the addition. It's just obviously gonna be higher on the garage side, as you can see from the profile that we've got there. So, above the front door, it is already a two-story building, and, I don't have an exact height to that side, but it's a two-story, we're tying into the two-story, and it's gonna be relatively the same height. What we calculated for the other height of our new addition is, 21.03 feet to the peak, which is within zoning requirements. So, let's see. The setback stakes that we put in, I didn't know how to stake this since it was going on the existing footprint. So I put some stakes in the yard. I don't know if you saw those. One of those was to the 27.53, which was the one garage corner. The other garage corner is at roughly 31 feet from the front setback. And then I put two other stakes in that were at that 35-foot, the new setback. I'm a surveyor, so the setbacks are all to the property lines, and so it should be pretty clear from the drawings that I provided what we're actually asking, and it's to the property line and not to any of the road center lines or the back of curve.
A surveyor and an architect in the same family. I bet that made the building official happy when you came in. Question, Mr. Walker.
My first question is, Who colored the sky in?
Yeah.
My father is the architect, and he has a very picky daughter. I also made him put the brick lines in,
Did it-
because it was
No,
bothering
I'm-
me,
I'm
so
just-
he went back and put them in.
I'm just concerned about the color of the sky, that's all. Thank you.
A nice day in Michigan might look like that. We haven't seen it in a while,
Oh,
so.
wow.
Mr. Flood?
Mr. Chairman, I understand your practical difficulty. That house was built probably early 70s,
Right,
and that, we refer to it, locals, Astronaut Alley, when they put it all in there. At that time, you met the setback requirements, because you got an approved subdivision there that's been established for over 50 years.
right.
Subsequently, the ordinance has changed on the requirements for the type of zoning that you are in. And you're looking to put an addition on exactly on the same footprint as your existing home.
Right.
Yes.
So that's,
We went from just the two of us to now there's 4 kids, so
you gotta go up.
gotta go up.
Yep.
And we love the schools and the neighborhood, and it's a wonderful place to be, as, you know, they always say living is a vacation around here, so we found it that way too, so.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Walker?
Just for the record, I want to indicate that even though your petition sounds very much like the people that were just here ahead of you, I mean, remarkably so, I think there are big differences in what they had for us to look at and you have to look. I mean, I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, but, I mean, the growth of the family, all of that stuff is all exactly similar. And my point is that every case that comes in, we judge individually. Everything is very factual dependent. So from the surface, it looks like the two of your claims are very similar. But I think in reality, in my opinion at least, they're not similar at all. It's an editorial comment on today's stuff.
I don't think there's any view issues with the other thing, which the big thing with the property there, yeah.
We are tucked way back on a court, so.
The fact that you're not expanding your footprint is a very large thing, too.
Yep.
Do we have anyone in the audience that would like to speak to this specifically? Okay. Anything further from the board? I don't have anything.
My questions were answered in the conversation.
I'll make a motion.
Mr. Naskis,
In the matter of ZBA case AB-2022-03, Scott and Kristen Kara, is that correct?
Here, yep, you
Yep.
got it right.
2716 Mercury Court, parcel ID 0909-20-477-008. I move that the petitioner's request for one variance from zoning ordinance number 78, zoned R2, Article 6, Section 6.04, number 1, a 7.42 front yard setback variance from the required 35 feet to add a second-story addition 27.58 feet from the front property line be granted, because the petitioner did demonstrate that the following standards for variances have been met in this case, and that they set forth facts which show that in this case, particularly that the following except for extraordinary circumstances exist, that this was originally zoned in such a way that this would have been permitted, but now zoning ordinances have changed, and you are adding this on to the home, but the footprint of the home will stay the same. The variance is necessary for the preservation and enjoyment of substantial property right possessed by, in that area. The granting of the variance or modifications will not materially be detrimental to the public welfare or materially injurious to the property or improvement in such zone or district in which the property is located based. It will not impair adequate supply of light and air to the adjacent property. It will not be unreasonably increase congestion in public streets. It will not increase danger or fire or endanger public safety. and it will not unreasonably diminish or impair established property values within the surrounding area, or in any other respect impair the public health, safety, comfort, morals, or welfare of the inhabitants of the township.
Support.
We have a motion on the floor with support. For the record, before we call the roll, we do have one letter that I didn't see, Mr. Walker showed me, a letter of support from one of your neighbors, that they have no issue with what you want to do. That having been said, motion was by Ms. Danaskis, and the support was Mr. Walker?
Flood.
Flood, Mr. Flood. Please call the roll.
Walker?
Yes.
Knaskis?
Yes.
Flood?
Yes.
Cook?
Yes.
Durham?
Yes,
Motion carries.
you're all set.
Thank you very much.
Next up, we have case number AB 2022-04, Jonathan Townsend / Perez, signs for Sycamore Creek Apartments at 3355 Thornwood Trail, Sidwell 09-29-101-004. Petitioner seeking two variances from zoning ordinance 78, number 153, zoning ordinance number 153, section 7, residential zoned areas, ground signs zoned RM1. Number 1 is a 1.75-foot height variance from the allowed 6-foot for a residential ground sign to be 7.75 feet high. And number 2 is a 54.6 square foot size variance above the allowed 41 square foot for a residential ground sign to be 95.6 square feet. We have petitioners. Identify yourselves, please.
I'm Jonathan Townsend with VeriSign.
I'm Jeremy Parent with, for Sycamore Creek Apartments, the regional property manager.
Okay. Let us know why you need a new sign.
So, the reason why we're asking for a new sign was because the old one was taken out during the process of the road widening there. And now that the road has been widened, the entrance is pushed back a little bit. There was a new island there. And now obviously it's a much bigger road with a large center median. So I think it went from I think it was a 2-lane road originally to now 4 lanes wide with a large center median. So basically the new sign goes in place of the new island that's at the entranceway to the property. And that island is further back from the road, which is partially the reason for the size request and the height. But the main reason I think is just because the structure of the sign is large from a masonry perspective, not as much as signage. We're actually, if you take our actual signage of the Sycamore Creek Apartments panel, it's actually only about 25 square feet. So we're technically under your usual ordinance there. It's the background that's causing us to go over the size, the ordinance for the RM1 zoning.
New sign's going where the old sign is?
Not quite. If the old signs were on
On the sides.
so right now there's a center island there with an entrance and an exit drive. That's where the new sign's going. The old signs were on the sides of the entrance.
I said old, I should have said present sign, so you're gonna.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
No, that's
that's
okay.
correct. Yeah.
That's okay. Well, I certainly see the need of it. You've got a lot of people there, and that road is fast, and people need to see where they're headed before they get there and do something unfortunate to turn in too fast. I live within 1.5 miles of there, been by there innumerable times. I was not aware it was called Sycamore Creek until I started hunting down the address for this.
Okay.
So it's real easy to not know. So I certainly see why you want what you want.
I've passed it myself. End up at, Maybe Road and stuff like that.
Yeah. Question by board.
I hate to say this, but that used to be my old ball field back in the day. I want to really compliment you on putting those, because this is where your height and all that stuff gets out of whack a little bit, is this isn't just your plain old throw a square sign in there and there you go. This is very attractive, and I like the way you got, it looks like like trees. on
Right,
those
yeah.
monoliths that you, what you call those.
Yeah, they're kind of monoliths with the
Yeah.
tree and there's 4 of them there that are varied height and that tree it's dimensional. It's going to stick off about 1/4 of an inch or so. But the idea there was to create something that kind of makes interest, it's not just a stick in the air, with the
Right.
4 panels, it will, as you're driving up to it from different angles, it will look different, so.
Very, very attractive. And then, you may be aware, when they widened that road, they took out huge oak trees that used to line that whole property right there. And it's a shame, but that's what happens when they widen roads. So putting that kind of feature in there, I thought that was pretty nice. My opinion.
Mr. Cook?
So this is a very nice sign. So does this mean that you're going to be removing some of the trees that are to the north and south of this?
Yeah, I believe, Jeremy, you might be able to talk more about that, but there is a new landscape plan, and there's going to be a lot of additional.
We're gonna have to remove a couple on both sides.
Yeah.
We didn't have that, did we?
I don't believe that the landscape plan was included. I don't know that it was ready at the time when we.
Yeah. No, the reason I asked that is because to take this kind of detail on the sign and to leave the existing landscape as
Right.
it is, makes this almost moot.
Yeah,
Now-
the landscaping plan works to feature the sign and then draw you into the entrance there.
And the landscaping will be on both islands too. There's 2 islands when you enter. It'll be on both landscaping.
Anybody in the audience come to speak to this matter specifically? Seeing none?
One final question, Mr. Chairman.
Cook.
I read something that said that this had changed ownership. No?
Nope.
And then, looks like there's so basically the ownership hasn't changed.
No.
Okay.
It's, owned by Edward Rose and Sons. I work for Personnel Management, which is, LLC of Edward Rose and Sons. But we built it and manage our own apartments.
Okay, so, because I saw the 22 years and then the 49 years
It
and,
was under, Sheldon Rose, which was the father of our CEO right now, Warren Rose. So it just was through that way.
okay.
Same company.
That helps. Didn't know if this was an inverted corporation or something along those lines. Okay.
It has no bearing on why you're here. I'm just curious. How many people in that development?
We have 396 units, apartments in there. We're about 98% occupied right now.
Thank you. Nothing additional from the board. We can stand for.
Sure, yeah. Only thing that bothers me is the amount of the second variance, the size. I mean, is double what's allowed under the sign ordinance. And I do agree, I like that, I think it looks very nice, but it's an awfully big sign.
Well, I think the masonry structure is larger because it extends so far out. So it's just the planters that are getting long there, that's creating that extra size. In scale of the island, we actually have an overhead view of it shown on top of that island. It's actually not that large there. And I think,
Those numbers on your application are not correct? It's not that large, you said.
no, the island that it's going on.
Okay.
I'm saying if you scale the sign, if you're looking at it overhead or you're standing in front of that island where the sign is at, what's happening is that island is very large and quite long. And the sign actually, in comparison to the island, does not look very big at all.
And the sign that's there now, that's the existing sign that's been there?
I think
No,
that's,
it's a temporary sign.
That was just something you put up during the road construction or because of it?
Correct, yeah, when the side, signs got taken down, we put that one up just so
Okay,
we had something.
all right, thank you.
And I don't believe typically, I don't know exactly how it works here in Orion Township. Usually, you know, we're counting every single inch of this as signage square foot. Typically, most places we submit permits in, they only count the signage that says the words on it, or the box of that signage, not the structure that it's going on. So, I think that's why it seems so large in comparison to what you allow. But the signage part itself, the Sycamore Creek's apartment panel is really only 25 square feet, which I think it works out to being 6 or 7 square feet under what we're allowed with the setback. Because it's so far back from the road, we get a couple extra square feet.
Thank you.
There's nothing additional.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion. Okay, in the matter of ZBA case AB 2022-04, Jonathan Townsend, verisigns for Sycamore Creek Apartments, 3355 Thornton Trail, Sidwell 0929101-004. I move the petitioner's request for 2 variances from the sign ordinance number 153, section 7, residential zoned areas, ground signs zoned RM-1. Number 1, a 1.75-foot height variance above the allowed 6 foot for a residential ground sign to be 7.75 feet high. Number 2, a 54.6 square foot size variance above the allowed 41 square feet for a residential ground sign to be 95.6 square feet be granted because the petitioner did demonstrate that the following standards for variances have been met in this case, and in that they set forth facts which show that in this case, the petitioner, number 1, the petitioner does show the following practical difficulty, and that's that the road has been widened, their former sign was taken out, and in addition to the widening, the traffic moves at a rapid pace, and we do have a Michigan left turn there. And it will make it easier for both the residents as well as delivery personnel to find the property. The following are exceptional or extraordinary circumstances or conditions applicable to the property that do not apply generally to other properties in the same district. And that is that, as has been voiced by a couple of us here on the board, that we knew of the apartments but did not know the name of it. And so that's extraordinary that you pass something every day and not know what the name is. And now with this sign, we will know, as well as any delivery drivers that might be trying to find the residence itself. The variance is necessary for the preservation and enjoyment of a substantial property right posed by other properties in the same zone or vicinity, based upon the fact that, again, it's a apartment complex, but it is also a business, and so and there are various people that will have to come there. The granting of the variance or modification will not be materially detrimental to the public welfare or materially injurious to the property or to improvements in such zone or district in which the property is located, based upon the following findings, again, that it is a place that has 396 units, and so basically we have movement potentially on a 24-hour basis, and it will make it a lot safer to find the units. Further, based upon the following findings of fact, the granting of this variance would not impair an adequate supply of light and air to the adjacent properties. It would not unreasonably increase the congestion. In fact, it should decrease the congestion, increase the danger of fire, or endanger the public safety. Also, unreasonably diminish or impair established property values within the surrounding area, or in any other respect impair the public health, safety, comfort, morals, or welfare of the inhabitants of the township.
Support.
I have a motion by Mr. Cook, supported by Mr. Flood. Nothing additional from the board. Please call the roll.
Flood,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Cook,
Yes.
Janaskis,
Yes.
Durham,
Yes,
motion carries.
you're good to go.
Thank you.
Good luck. Next, we have public comment. Come on up.
Will Wilshire. I just wish my neighbors would have hung around to hear your comments after the fact. I actually sent them architectural drawings of my house, what I was gonna do to it, and I tried to get them on the same page. I told them their drawings were very difficult to make out. And I know they could have probably learned something from it. I talked to them about it, and I do know there was one other person that was not in favor of it but couldn't make it. I thought maybe they had sent a letter in, but that was obvious not it. But I know they're pretty upset with me, but I'll work with them on it. I know they need the space in their house, and I told them yesterday, I felt there were some better ways for them to go about it, and I still couldn't understand why you didn't show what your whole house would look like with this addition on the house. I told them I felt that would have helped them better, everybody better understand what they have. So just wanted to make that point. I appreciate you guys saying that. It'll be in the minutes. I'm sure of that, and I'll mention to them if they check the minutes, your comments will be made, about what they kind of left off to help them better be prepared for next time. Thank you.
If they're unhappy, just let them know you did not cast a single vote. You just came up as you're allowed to do under public, and let
I
us know
know.
what's on your mind.
I know, I was a little, because they're sitting there, everybody's in agreement with this, and I'm like, no. Yeah, and they're kind of hard to talk to at times. So, I tried to help, in ways. I told them, be prepared to make concessions and stuff like that. But I asked them why they needed both their sheds. I said, it's a huge problem. I kind of got a rough idea. I've been before this board before on a different, Mr. Flood knows that. I've been shut down twice up here, so that's why I made sure what I'm doing now this time I don't have to visit you nice people. So, but and I know you got a job to do, and I appreciate the job you guys do. It's a tough decision, but you got to do what's best for the township. That's why you're here.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next, we have communications, and under that, we got some information in our packet for tonight about some upcoming training opportunities from the Michigan Association of Planning. Also, we have don't let a computer hacker phish your account. That is due to be done before the end of March. You guys are already probably done with it. I just did mine today, required security training. So that's out there, and that's all I've got for communications. I don't believe we have any active committees. And beyond that, member comments.
I have none tonight. Oh, well, welcome Lynn. It's nice seeing Lynn's face over there.
Yeah, so,
That's it.
the first case was a little tough, but at the same time, I thought, and I couldn't figure out the examples that they posted or listed, they were nothing like it, and so they actually provided me with, they helped me with my decision. So,
It was not a clear cut. You're right, it was a tough one, but I believe we went the right way.
Yeah.
Walker, anything? Motion to adjourn? We have motion, House support, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we're done, thank you.
okay. So,